"We're not including you in Christmas this year," my mother-in-law said in my own home. I snapped back. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just smiled, walked upstairs, and changed everything. By the time they realized what I'd done, it was already too late. Sometimes, the loudest revenge is silence. I stood there, frozen. Hearing those words, right there in my own living room, felt like a slap. Like I was nothing. Not family. Not even a guest. I watched their faces, smug, satisfied, like cutting me out was no big deal. For a second, my chest tightened. I wanted to scream, cry, but instead I smiled. It wasn't a real smile. It was the kind you wear when something inside you snaps. When you know you've reached your limit. I turned without a word. Walked upstairs, my hands cold, my heart colder. By the time I opened my laptop, by the time I clicked that final confirmation, I wasn't hurt anymore. I was done. When I first married Daniel, I thought I was stepping into a family that valued love, patience, and understanding. That's what they showed me, at least. Warm smiles. Kind words. Margaret, my mother-in-law, even called me her bonus daughter at our wedding reception. It felt real back then. It felt safe. After a year of renting a small apartment together, Daniel and I started talking about buying a home. Somewhere peaceful. Somewhere to start building our future. We had dreams of backyard barbecues, holiday dinners, maybe even a little garden. That's when Margaret made her suggestion. She said she and Robert, Daniel's stepfather, had found a beautiful piece of property just outside town. A charming farmhouse, she called it. Enough room for all of us, enough land for expansion, space for family gatherings, for grandchildren someday. At first, I hesitated. Living together? Under one roof? It sounded messy. But Margaret and Robert were so enthusiastic. Daniel seemed excited too. He said it would help us save money. Said we could all pitch in, work together. Make it ours. Margaret even offered to handle the logistics. "Just put the house under your name," she said sweetly. "It'll be easier for the mortgage, honey. You're young, you have good credit. We're just here to support you." Robert nodded along, adding that they'd cover food, utilities, small expenses. All they needed was help getting the loan approved. Against the tiny knot forming in my stomach, I agreed. We bought the farmhouse. I bought it. My name on every document, every page. My savings, years of careful planning, went into the down payment. At first, everything felt okay. Margaret baked pies every Sunday. Robert mowed the lawn. Laura, Daniel's sister, even helped paint the guest room once. It almost fooled me. For a while. But the cracks started to show sooner than I expected. Robert forgot to fix a broken pipe he promised to handle. Margaret started reorganizing the kitchen, my kitchen, without asking. Laura moved into what was supposed to be my home office, calling it her craft space. Suddenly, decisions about the house were made without me. I'd come home from work and find furniture rearranged. Plants moved. Decorations tossed. My opinion wasn't asked for. Wasn't needed. Daniel. He stayed silent. When I brought it up, he just shrugged. "They mean well," he said once, not meeting my eyes. "They're just trying to make it feel like home." Home. For who? Things kept sliding downhill. Small things at first. Margaret setting new house rules like no shoes inside, no loud music after 8 p.m. Rules that somehow only applied to me. Robert started bringing in his friends for weekend barbecues, using my backyard like it was a public park. Laura hosted girls' nights upstairs, blasting music into the early morning hours. I was slipping, losing ground, losing space, losing my own home. Every time I pushed back, gently, calmly, I was met with wide-eyed innocence. "You're being too sensitive," Margaret would say, patting my hand like I was a child. Robert laughed once and said, "You're part of a family now, Emily. This isn't just your place." And Daniel? He just stayed quiet. Every single time. I tried to believe it would settle down. That maybe they just needed time to adjust. That if I kept being patient, kept giving, kept smiling, things would turn around. I even convinced myself, sometimes, that it was my fault. Maybe I wasn't flexible enough. Maybe I needed to try harder. But deep down, some part of me already knew. This wasn't my home anymore. Not in their eyes. Not in Daniel's either. And the worst part? I had paid for every inch of it. Things didn't get better. They got worse. Quietly. Like a slow leak in a boat you don't notice until you're sinking. It started with food. Margaret began cooking dinner without asking if I'd be home. If I wasn't there at exactly 6, nothing was saved. No leftovers. No plate set aside. I tried brushing it off. Maybe they just forgot. Maybe it wasn't on purpose. But deep down I knew. The second blow came when Laura changed the Wi-Fi password. No heads up. No explanation. Just a casual mention over breakfast. Oh, by the way, we made a new password. Ask Mom for it. Mom. Not me. Not the person paying for the house. The little things piled up fast. They started hosting family meetings in the living room. Meetings I wasn't invited to in my own home. New house rules appeared overnight. No outside guests unless cleared by Margaret. No working in the dining room after dinner hours. No using the sunroom for personal projects. Margaret had decided it would become her meditation space. Every rule somehow aimed right at me. I came home one evening after a brutal shift only to find my office stripped bare. Desk gone. Laptop shoved into a corner. My framed photos tossed onto the guest bed like junk. Margaret stood there, arms crossed, smiling like it was perfectly normal. We needed more space for Laura's art supplies, she said. You can work from your bedroom, can't you? It's more private. I opened my mouth to argue. Then I saw Daniel behind her, arms crossed, silent. That silence hit harder than any insult. They weren't just pushing me aside. They were counting on me not to fight back. Daniel barely spoke to me at night. Busy with work, he said. Too tired to talk, too stressed to deal with family drama. Except it wasn't family drama. It was my life unraveling, thread by thread. I started staying late at work, lingering at coffee shops, anywhere but home. Because home didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like enemy territory. I told myself to hold on. Maybe it was temporary. Maybe if I kept being kind, kept showing up, kept giving, they'd realize how much I was doing for them. But inside, a quiet rage was building. A pressure I could feel behind my ribs every time Margaret smiled that fake, sugary smile. Every time Robert made a joke about Emily's little house. Every time Laura slammed a door and blamed it on the old floors. It was like they wanted me invisible, silent, useful, but unseen. The final straw didn't come with shouting. It didn't come with some grand betrayal. It came one night when I walked into the kitchen and found Margaret, Laura, and Robert huddled together, whispering. I caught just enough before they noticed me. She won't fight back, Laura said. She's too scared to lose everything. They looked up. 3 faces. 3 strangers. I smiled, nodded, turned around. That night, for the first time in months, I didn't cry. I didn't blame myself. I didn't wonder what I did wrong. I started planning. A week after I heard them whispering, I started digging. Not loud, not obvious. Just quiet questions. Tiny steps. I pulled out the mortgage documents from my locked drawer. The original purchase agreement. The loan papers. The title. Page after page, my name stood alone. No Margaret. No Robert. No Laura. Not even Daniel. Every piece of this house was tied to me legally, financially, completely. I sat there, reading and rereading, feeling something break loose inside my chest. Relief. Rage. Freedom. All this time, I thought they had more power than me. Thought I was trapped. But the truth was simple. They were guests. Nothing more. And I didn't have to keep them. I started meeting with a lawyer. After work. Before sunrise. Whenever I could fit it in without raising suspicion. He confirmed what I hoped. Since there was no rental agreement, no signed lease, they were technically unauthorized occupants. I could evict them legally, properly, with a 30-day notice. I thought I'd feel guilty. I didn't. Each night I went home with new eyes. Every fake smile, every backhanded comment, every slammed door, I cataloged it. Not with anger. Not with tears. With clarity. They had built a house of cards, sitting on a foundation that wasn't theirs. They thought I was too scared to push back. They thought wrong. Meanwhile, Daniel stayed oblivious. Or maybe he chose not to see. Either way, it didn't matter anymore. The power they thought they had? It was paper thin. The home they thought they owned? It was never theirs to begin with. And, for the first time in months, I slept. Not perfectly. Not peacefully. But with a seed of something new. Something fierce. The countdown had begun. They just didn't know it yet. I didn't announce anything. No warnings. No shouting matches. No ultimatums. I just smiled a little more. Said good morning a little sweeter. Washed my own dishes and left theirs in the sink. Margaret noticed first. She started making little comments. Emily's been so quiet lately. It's not healthy to hold things in. Robert nodded like a wise old sage. Laura just smirked. They thought they had broken me. That I had finally accepted my place. Background noise in my own home. Let them think it. While they decorated the house with fall wreaths and pumpkin candles, I printed paperwork. While they hosted friends for Sunday brunch, I met with my lawyer to finalize the eviction notice. The timing was almost poetic. The 30-day clock would start exactly 1 week before Christmas. Daniel didn't notice a thing. Or maybe he did, but chose not to ask. He came home later than usual, slept facing the wall, left early before sunrise. Fine. He made his choice too. At night, I sat upstairs in my room, the only space still truly mine, making lists. Not of revenge. Not of punishment. Of freedom. Step 1. Print the eviction notices. Step 2. Document everything. Step 3. Pack my valuables. Step 4. Wait. It wasn't easy. The house still felt heavy. Every room carried echoes of conversations I wasn't part of. Laughter I wasn't invited to. I swallowed that hurt like bitter medicine. Because I knew what was coming. Margaret's birthday fell 2 weeks before Christmas. They threw a party in the backyard, my backyard, without inviting me. Lights strung across the trees I planted. Tables borrowed from my storage shed. From my window, I watched them laugh and toast and celebrate. Laura even wore a sweater I recognized, one of mine that had gone missing months ago. I closed the blinds. I didn't cry. Instead, I reviewed the tenant laws again. Highlighted key sections. Made sure everything I did would be legal, irrefutable, final. 2 days later, Robert came home bragging about some handyman work he did, replacing a section of fence near the back lot. He mentioned it casually, like it was proof they contributed. It wasn't. He didn't ask permission. Didn't even tell me. Margaret redecorated the sunroom. Turned it into a family library. She moved in chairs, a side table, a whole new rug. Paid for none of it, but called it hers. Every day chipped away another piece of the illusion. The day before Thanksgiving, they announced, without consulting me, that extended family would come for dinner. 20 people? At my house. I didn't argue. Didn't refuse. I just booked a hotel room across town for the night. Left early that morning. Texted Daniel, I'm spending Thanksgiving elsewhere. Enjoy your evening. No response. I didn't need one. At the hotel, I ate takeout in bed. Watched bad holiday movies. Laughed when I wanted. Slept through the night for the first time in weeks. The next morning, I checked the weather forecast. Cold front moving in. I smiled. Timing would be perfect. By the time they realized what was happening, they would already be frozen out, legally and emotionally. I filed the official paperwork that Friday. Mailed the notices by certified mail and pinned copies on the fridge. No speeches. No anger. Just a sheet of paper with a deadline. 30 days to vacate. Signed. Emily. The morning after I pinned the notices, the house was too quiet. I woke up early, got dressed slowly, listened to the creak of footsteps downstairs. Margaret was the first to see it. The taped paper fluttering slightly against the fridge. I heard her sharp gasp all the way upstairs. Then the hurried clatter of footsteps. Then her voice shrill, cracking, calling for Robert and Laura. Daniel didn't call for me. Of course he didn't. I walked down the stairs calm, steady, like I had all the time in the world. They were huddled around the fridge, reading the notice again and again, as if repetition would change the words. Margaret spun around first. Emily, what is this? She demanded, waving the paper in the air like it had personally insulted her. A notice, I said simply. 30 days. You'll need to leave. You can't be serious, Robert barked. This is our home too. No, I said. It never was. Laura crossed her arms. You're doing this during the holidays? I shrugged. You chose when it started. I chose when it ends. Margaret's face twisted into something almost unrecognizable. Hurt. Anger. Shock. Daniel stood at the edge of the room, arms limp at his sides. Silent. Useless. After everything we've done for you, Margaret whispered, voice trembling. You mean after everything I've paid for? I tilted my head. The mortgage, the utilities, the repairs. The groceries. The property taxes. Robert muttered something under his breath. Laura kicked the fridge. Classy. Margaret straightened her spine. You're tearing this family apart. I smiled. Families don't tear when they're real. They break when the illusion shatters. Silence pressed against the walls. Heavy. Thick. Finally, Daniel spoke. You can't just throw them out. It's not right. I turned to him slowly. You watch them treat me like a stranger in my own home. You let them push me out of every room. Every decision. He opened his mouth. Closed it. That's what's not right, I said quietly. Laura stormed out first, muttering curses under her breath. Robert followed, slamming the back door so hard the windows rattled. Margaret stayed rooted in place. Face pale. Hands shaking. You'll regret this, she said. One day, you'll realize what you lost. I stepped closer, close enough for her to see the calm in my eyes. I already realized what I almost lost, I said. Myself. Then I turned and walked upstairs. every step lighter than the last. Behind me, the house stayed silent, the way it always should have been. The days that followed were strange. Not explosive, not chaotic, just heavy. The air in the house shifted. Margaret stopped speaking altogether. Robert stomped around, muttering under his breath. Laura slammed every door she touched. Daniel barely existed. He left early, came home late, avoided eye contact like it might burn him. I stayed out of the way, cooked my own meals, kept my door locked, counted down the days. Small acts of pettiness flared up, thermostat battles, missing laundry, random accidents in the kitchen. I didn't respond. I didn't rise to it. Every time Margaret glared at me across the kitchen island, I just smiled softly, like she wasn't even there. Silence became my armor. They tried other tactics too. The guilt trip letters slid under my door. The weepy voicemails. The accusations of betrayal whispered loudly enough for me to hear. Family, loyalty, forgiveness. Empty words from people who only cared when they were losing. Extended families started reaching out. Aunts, cousins, even distant relatives I hadn't seen since the wedding. Texts, calls, Bible quotes. Backhanded advice disguised as concern. I didn't reply to any of them. I posted a simple statement online. After enduring months of mistreatment in a house I fully own and finance, I've made the legal decision to reclaim my space. I wish everyone peace, but I'm choosing myself. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. The real ones knew. The fake ones unfriended me within hours. Good riddance. As the move-out date approached, the tension thickened like fog. I came home one evening to find Margaret and Robert sitting stiffly at the dining table, Daniel pacing behind them. They asked no, demanded a discussion. I listened. I nodded. And I said no. No to staying longer. No to renegotiating. No to pretending. Laura screamed that I was heartless. Margaret burst into tears. Robert muttered something about how family sticks together. Daniel just looked tired. I stood up, hands steady, voice calm. You had a home here. You chose to make it a battlefield. Then I left the room. On the final day, they packed in angry silence. Daniel didn't say goodbye. When they drove away, the house echoed empty. I didn't celebrate. I didn't cry. I just stood in the middle of the living room, listening to the quiet. It wasn't victory I felt. It was something softer. Relief. Real, deep, soul-deep relief. A week after they left, I started cleaning. Not just dusting. Not just scrubbing. A real, heavy, soul-deep cleansing. I opened every window. Let the cold December air flood in. Burned candles in every room. Hung lights around the porch, my lights, my choice. The house creaked differently now. Lighter. Almost grateful. One afternoon, while clearing out the sunroom Margaret had claimed, I found a box tucked behind the old bookcase. Inside, old letters. Most were junk, expired coupons, forgotten mail, but one envelope caught my eye. Yellowed. Fragile. Addressed to someone I didn't recognize. I unfolded it carefully. It was a letter, written years ago, from a woman named Ellen. The words hit me like a silent punch. If you're reading this, then you know what it's like. They make you feel welcome, only to trap you. Promise you family, only to drain you dry. I hope you find a way out. I wasn't strong enough. But maybe you are. It wasn't just me. It never had been. This pattern, the manipulation, the gaslighting, it stretched back farther than I ever guessed. Maybe Ellen had been a daughter-in-law too. Maybe she hadn't escaped in time. But I had. I folded the letter carefully, placed it in my desk drawer not out of bitterness, but as a reminder. A reminder that surviving wasn't weakness. It was strength. Christmas came quietly after that. No chaos. No fake smiles. No silent treatments. I decorated the tree exactly how I wanted. Cooked dinner for myself without criticism. Sat by the fire with a book and a glass of wine. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was intruding in my own life. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was free. And freedom, I realized, was the best kind of celebration.